Hey y'all, what's good? This is MMA Toad. I'm going to break down UFC 106, going through the entire card, and then I'm going to lock in my tapology. So we'll get specific with round props, methods, all that above. Last week we crushed it. I should go back and look at the rankings. I don't know exactly where that landed, but it had to have been pretty decent. It allowed me in a UFC content creator contest that I'm part of to tie myself for first, and I was down a few picks too. So we had some nice surplus, made up some ground. It's the year of the dog. There's going to be some upsets. There's going to be some upsets. I'm not going to lie. This is a little. There's some pick'ems on this fight. You'll see in this breakdown that I'm curious to hear like your take on it. Where do you have this fight? Because I don't have in some from a betting perspective some of these fights like a Rosa and Costa. I just have that one not going to the judges, and I think that's fairly safe. But if you feel strongly for Costa or you feel strongly for Erosa, I want to hear that shit. So, anyways, breaking down from the very first fight, Tisha Pennington taking on Luana Pereiro. I like Pennington a lot. She's had some close bouts. She's pretty strong. Sure, I like her pressure up against the edge of the octagon. Her clinch work solid. Um, I feel like she's fought better opposition, and she's had close times where it could have gone either way. I'm not going to sit here and die on this hill like, oh, Pennington won that fight. At the end of the day, you got to populate some damage and some convincing strikes to really get an impression sometimes. But when it comes to that, well, shots absorbed and the control time and the clinch work, she looks pretty solid there. So I think it'll be a little bit too much for Luana. I should mention also that we are back at the Apex, but I'm not too mad about it. We've had a number of fight nights on the road. We just came from UFC 315, which I think delivered than what it looked like on paper. So I'm happy to see that, and I could see there being some nice highlight finishes on this card. So moving up, I expect that one to go to the judges. I'm gonna go Pennington by a decision. I'll lock in my tapology in a little bit when some more people trickle through and we can talk a little further on props and rounds. For now, I'll just focus on picks. Moving up the card, we got Hunsung Park taking on Carlos Hernandez. I know Park is going to be my pick on this fight, but I'm not going to rule out Hernandez in this fight. I think he's pretty gritty, despite what his record shows being 10-4. I like that at flyweight. The dude can kind of buckle down, pretty scrappy. Um, most of his losses have come via um, decision, but he's acceptable to the knockout. He's acceptable to the submission. But if this fight gets to the ground, I like it a lot for Hernandez as long as they're on the feet, which I expect Park to be able to keep it there. I'm expecting a TK or a knockout by Park here. So it's the year of the dog. The O's have been going. Park could be kicking this card off in a way where it's like, oh man, Hernandez just pulled a big upset. I could imagine that would hurt some parlays and some solid hammers for anyone trying to ride that train. So just be a little careful on that one. Moving up the card, first leg on a couple parlays of mine, pretty confident. And I'll show you this read. We were actually just talking about it on the Long Shots parlay show with Maddie Betts. Normally, Hey Jives is on that. Nolan was filling in for him this time around because he's traveling to Vegas. But check this read. So a lot of people have Denise Gomes winning this fight within the distance. So Gomes by finish, taking on Elise Reed. I see Gomes getting this finish, but the payout prop is it's plus 150 for Gomes to win by finish. And if you just took under 2.5 rounds, it's like plus 140 from a lot of different bookies. So I'm not expecting Reed to hit that one-hitter quitter shot, especially as someone as tough as Gomes. But from a betting perspective, you're better doing the under 2.5. And I get that you could hit like a late round finish. So if you were like super convinced it came down to the last 2.5 minutes, it's still like plus 110 props. And hey, that's pretty good in women's MMA when you're pretty convinced that it's going to be a one-sided fight and it could get stopped. So I'm going to take Denise. I like the pressure. Her striking. She's got amazing power. She actually throws like a man. And her appearance also indicates that, she could be a bit transitioning at this time. Elise Reed, she's had good regional success, but at the UFC level, I think it's going to be a bit too much for her. So as long as we're taking on the likes of the testosterone that's packed in the hands of Denise. So moving up the card, another women's MMA bout. You guys are getting spoiled on this one. Luana Santos taking on Tainara Lisboa. I'm going to take Santos. Not super convinced on this fight either way. I see it going to the judges. I expect small peppering shots, grappling, like a little bit of a takedown or two, but not able to follow up with elbows, because I don't know what it is about women's MMA, but when they have their opponents on the ground, they are like fearful to drop the elbows. They're fearful to do anything that's opening up and actually allowing blood to pour out of their opponent, to have that convincing, like, oh fuck, that's a 10-8 round, or something to weigh these judges. They're butter knives that just go off for 15 fucking minutes, and that's it. So we're looking at very specifically the volume of strikes and control time. The significant strike, it's tough to gauge, truthfully. What's significant about these butter knives? Not a whole lot. I want to see more ground and pound in women's MMA. I want to see the usage of elbows, because again, you get these officials who will lean in, and women's heads are being like bounced off the fucking canvas of the octagon, but the fight's never getting stopped because it's truly lacking that recoil that we see in the power of men's MMA. Like, they just lack that extra oomph, and so women are just getting TKO'd left and right, and the fight never gets stopped. And the moment someone lays an elbow, now we're leaning in. Now we're getting close to stopping. But it's normally like an elbow that transitions into fight for some control. And then we go back to some other strikes. Now we try to set up a big elbow again. It's like, just have that repetition of elbows, and we'll probably get more finishes out of there. I'm not sure specifically why I focused on this fight for that. But it's just more so I'm ranting how this will likely go to the judges, because neither fighter in this matchup is capable of using any of the shit I just said to get it done within the distance, from like a ground and pound perspective. So moving up the card, we got Connor Matthews taking on Yadler Duvall. I think Duvall, he's another one of these guys where his O could go, but it would be very surprising to see it done to the likes of Connor Matthews. I think Duvall's very live in this fight for the knockout. He's got some power in his hands. Pull up his Tapology. He's eight fights. He's got it done, both knockout, submission, and decision. He's just a complete fighter. When you look at Connor Matthews, however, he's lost 67% of his fights via getting TKO knocked out, and it's coming in the first two. So I actually like this fight under 2.5 rounds. I haven't personally built like a big distance parlay or anything yet, but eventually I will do so, and I'll absolutely consider this fight as a distance no. But more specifically, throw Yadler by finish. Don't discredit his ability to have his ground and pound or some big devastating shots open up the back where he's taking a rear naked choke and winning the fight against Connor in that way. So to play it safe, and you'll see that a lot on this card, if the prop's right still, I'm going to take the fight by finish and allow my parlays to move on that much more. Moving up the card, pretty good fight finally. Again, a lot of these early prelim fights, yeah, we got a couple debuting and guys up and coming, but it's nice to finally get like some recognizable names that we're like, okay, it's been a minute, even if they're kind of on their way out the door. So taking on Jared Gordon versus Thiago Moises, the black sheep of the fighting nerds. I'll be honest with you guys, this one's a bit of a pick 'em for me, because I respect Gordon's close fight out, tough time out with some of the levels of oppositions like Patty. I know he got dropped pretty bad against Bobby Green, and yeah, there was the clash of heads before that and so forth, but dude's actually pretty grit. He can buckle down. He's not a world beater in any discipline, but he's generally surviving on the feet enough to not really be taken down and controlled a whole lot. So his boxing's solid. It allows him to stay pretty live in the fights and accumulate his own shots. And a lot of times he's going to the decisions where it's just enough. What I like about Moises is his, we didn't quite see it with Patty because, yes, he broke his foot early in their fight, but I like Thiago's chances of getting this fight to the ground. And if not, landing the submission, which I think is probably one of the easiest ways of getting Gordon out of there because he's too damn tough for his own good. He would eat a lot of ground and pound. Um, yeah, I like Moises' ability to get the submission, but it's like two different paradigms. It's either I'm seeing Thiago get the takedown at all in this fight and open up some of his tool sets, or we're staying on the feet and Gordon actually has a good chance of pulling the upset as the underdog in this fight, assuming he's the underdog. Um, let's see. Yeah, does it show? Yeah, near even actually. Slight favorite. Okay, interesting. So Moises is actually the slight underdog here. That is good to know. I figured Gordon would be, but hey, I'll take it. Thiago Moises again. I like his team. I like his training. He's not super active. Neither is Gordon. Both fighters should be going into this one fairly fresh. Both fighters made weight. Everyone made weight on this card. But I just like the tool sets that allow Moises that extra opportunity to get a slight edge in this fight, whether it's some control time on the ground, the takedowns. However, if he does not complete the takedowns, he's getting that shit stuffed and we're on the feet. That's only going to allow Gordon that much more into this fight. So I'm quite okay knowing that this is very much a split pick and that it could go either way. What do you guys think? Moving up the card, we got Matias Camilo taking on Gabe Green. This is actually a pretty good fucking fight. And I know like these are names that, again, not everyone's super keen to, familiar with, but I think stylistically, I like Camilo in this fight. I like him by his knockout. But Green's going to keep it live. He's scrappy as well. Let's pull this man up here. He's a kill or be killed kind of fighter, especially when it comes to his striking. That's where I think the flaw is. I think Green's going to buckle down and catch something hard in the first two rounds. It's not going to see a round three. And if you look here, look at my man. Look at my man. Matias is getting it done in the first two rounds, and he's never been clipped. However, if he was up against someone with a stronger tool set to get this fight to the ground, which Gabe Green is not that guy, I would feel a lot more less confident with Camilo because that is his Achilles heel. Man, that guy struggles with his jiu-jitsu, struggles with the ground pressure, and his opponents find a way to get him out of there. But if they want to stand on the fight and make this a striking affair, yeah, Matias is live for that finish. I like him by the knockout in this fight. You could say distance no to be mega safe, but I reckon Camilo might as well get those extra dollars in your pocket, land my man by knockout in the first two rounds, and cash out. All right, moving up the card. This is probably like my top two or three fight of this whole card that I'm excited to see how it unfolds. We got two finishers. Costa being extremely active. Melky Boy taking on Julian Juicy J. Arosa. Both men great grappling. Both men nice power on the hands. It's not a matter of if this fight is going to get finished. It's just who's finishing who and how, right? I almost like the prop fight to end by submission, to be entirely honest. But I also respect their knowledge and capabilities to avoid certain submissions where it could very well somehow go to the judges. But you got to think these guys are live with ground and pound. Juicy J gets after it. Whether he's also kind of another one of those kill or be killed fighter. Extremely active fight career. But if you look here, 64% of his losses, 7 of those, right, have ended with him getting TKO'd or knocked out. And I like Costa's activity. The fear, and it's a good read. Earlier in the week, I saw a couple mention, Costa's been almost too active for his own good. Can he continue to make this weight cut? I would be more fearful if he looked super shaky on the scales, missed weight. The dude is making weight, and he's got some aura that he's carrying from his success and his fights. Christian Rodriguez was a fucking huge win. I absolutely love that. Let's go over here and check out Juicy J real quick in comparison. His last few times out been looking phenomenal. Derek Elkins, of course, not Darren Elkins, not the most like impressive finish, but he did get it done in the first round, and he also did get the finish against Christian Rodriguez here too. Um, so yeah, GCJ, he's a killer. Again, this is a pick 'em for me. I kind of went with Costa thinking about Arosa's ability to take it. He can give it just fine. When this dude's on the offensive end, Juicy J is a fucking world beater. And it looks like whoever he's fighting shouldn't have even been in there with him in the first place. It's just when his opponents can survive that barrage and they're giving those shots back in turn to Juicy J, that's where it's like fuck, because it's like immediate 180. And so I'm going to recommend everyone look at live props on this fight. If Juicy J comes out and he's looking good and Costa's prop bounces up to about, say, 300, I'm probably taking it because it's going to take that one shot by Costa. And now Erosa's fucking scrambling, trying to recover. And I trust in Costa's tool set and IQ to get the job done by finish. This isn't Navajo Sterling. That was last week. That dude couldn't finish a fucking one-limbed fighter who is blind and concussed. That Navajo Sterling sucks a fucking cock. And I told all of you guys last week before that card that he had already fucked so many people over in his previous fight of not being able to follow up due to bad fight IQ and get the finish. So again, these 6'4" city kickboxing fucking juice gorillas that don't know how to sit at range and feed shots in and want to stand directly on top of their opponents as they're down to their knees, that allow their opponents to grapple back into the fight, recover, and go to the judges somehow. Don't say I didn't tell you so. The very next Navajo Sterling fight, I have two very good support cases where I hope they give him somebody better than an Unk, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that dude's going to get fucking severely fraud checked, and I can't wait for it. Carlos Ulberg on the other chance, I was expecting he was going to move on and be the first fight with Poatan, assuming Poatan could pull the upset against Ankh. And that was the stylistic matchup I was looking forward to. He also, in his own regard, has fucked up a lot of fights with distance and plays it safe, plays it at range, unless you're charging in like a fucking rhino and getting absolutely clipped in the first 10 seconds against Ulberg. If you sit at range with him, he sits at range with you. He's not going for killer shots. He's going for points. And that's fucking sad at 205. Sorry for my rant. Had to get it out there. But when we're talking about finishing up and good fight IQ, I have to throw out last week. Navajo Sterling sucks a fucking cock. And I can't wait for this dude to get absolutely butchered. All right. Moving up the card. Ruslan Ruzaboev taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. That dude can actually fucking swing. Dustin has huge power in the hands. He's always a dog typically. He's the kind of guy that shows up, fucks up everyone's parlays. If you truly want to be safe on this one, giving the percentage and how Nursultan's getting the job done of his fights by finish, distance, no. And I want to say it's like negative 200 on FanDuel. That's a really good prop for a fight that's pretty much a given in almost any of your parlays. Any of your parlays, just throw this one distance, no, and that's a layup. Earlier, we talked about Denise Gomez. Originally, I had her by finish at plus 150. Well, you could say plus 140 to be under 2.5 rounds. So if Elise Reed pulls a rabbit out of her ass and somehow stops Denise, guess what? You still hit, and you basically got the same props. I love all of those props. Cycling back to Erosa and Costa being a split pick for me in terms of who's finishing who. These are 3 fights in a row I'm telling you guys to say distance no on, and pick another fight or 2 on the card for that juice that you're confident in, and enjoy yourselves a nice little bag. Please do so. But yes, I'm going to say Nursultan gets this done. He gets it done by finish. I'm not in love with his prop by finish. And I respect what Dustin's throwing back at him. At the end of the day, if Dustin hits him clean, you can see this man's arms at the weigh-in. He's got that fucking power. I'm not sleeping on it. I respect it, but I'm not expecting him to get it done. So to be safe, distance, no, we move on. Moving up the card, Sadiq Youssef. I had the pleasure of watching my man get knocked the fuck out by one of my favorite boys, Diego Lopez, UFC 300. He's taking on Marion Santos, which I think could actually pull an upset here. I'm seeing a lot of movement with Youssef. He's not bad. He's extremely fucking inactive, but he's not bad. He's also, let's just say it. I mean, the man we know, if you hit him just right, and it's not fair to use that example of Lopez because the man hits like a fucking truck. If you hit him just right, he drops. I like Santos. When I was going back watching some tape on this guy, he's active. He's hungry. He's got good footwork. He's mixing it well. And to be entirely fair, I think despite he doesn't have that level of opposition, everything that's been fed his way, he is crushing it. He's absolutely doing good. He did get fucked up by Marshall. He's susceptible to getting knocked, but as it stands right now, my man, he's winning the fight. So that means to me, I like that. I'd rather have a fighter be concussed and continue to fight back and lean on that grappling to recover, have that fight IQ. You know, your Navajo Sterlings out there, they don't know what to do the moment you wrap your arms around their fucking calves. They love just standing on top of you and watching you recover in that moment. So Sadiq Youssef, he's a brawler on the feet. That's where he gets it done. He's got phenomenal striking. This will be a striking affair, but I respect Santos' ability to mix the fight later rounds, maybe bring this fight to the ground or just do a lot of hugging up against the edge of the cage. I could see it being like Brian Battle and Randy Brown, where it's just a bunch of clinch work up against the side, playing it safe, and not allowing Youssef to set at range with those kicks. So we'll see how that ages, but I'm going to go Santos. I'm seeing a lot of movement again with Youssef. Tapology, I think, is going heavy on Youssef, so this is a big underdog for me. The props here on this. What the fuck, man? Okay, so again, the movement's not making any sense. Santos, I guess, is a slight favorite, and Youssef is near even. So I'm wondering if, like, throughout the week, if MMA analysis and content creators are actually shifting the movements of Tapology. I'm not sure about that, but I thought for sure early in the week I saw everyone making clips and content with Youssef by winning this fight, and now I guess Santos is a damn near slight favorite. So that's sweet. All right, so moving up the card, and I got some explaining to do here. We got Bear Jew Paul Craig right here. Bear Jew summoning all of the Scottish ancestral fucking gods to land this man his W. To be super safe on my picks, I did not pick Paul Craig because he's like your Tai Tuivasa at this stage in his career. He absolutely needs a win. It didn't age well for him at MSG. I got to be there for that one. It was sad to see. All I was praying for in that fight is that Bo was either confident enough in his own self to go for that takedown and show the world that I'm not afraid to grapple with Paul Craig, or Paul Craig just try something fucking new. Dive in, go for a goddamn trip, do something to make it, dicey. Have your opponent scramble with you a bit. Grab a hold of a fucking wrist. Do anything you can, but sit at range and pretend you're a boxer. You can't throw a fucking punch, Paul Craig. You can throw a weird hammer back fist. You can throw like a lead elbow strike. And you probably got some good kicks too. I mean, Paul Craig actually does have some pretty okay kicks that have opened up some opportunities for him in the past. But my man cannot throw a fucking punch. And I love Paul Craig. You'll see it this week when I post my cards. I want Bear Jew to win. But I'm going to go with Rodolfo Bellato getting the knockout. At this point, Paul Craig, we've tried going down and now we're going back up. And it's a big transition in terms of the power. And it's been a minute since Paul Craig's been actually spiked by somebody. Not that Kyle Brahalio doesn't possess that at 185. But at 205 pounds, that's 20 more pounds of some dynamite that I think we're sadly going to see. Um, this 56% quartile of losses by TKO and knockout, especially early in the fight, we might see that get a level up. Now, I saw some people betting it's going to go over a round and a half and that Paul Craig's going to be game. I hope so. I fucking hope so. I love Paul Craig, and I want this man to win and prove me wrong. From a pick standpoint, I don't have a lot of merit in this fight outside of Paul Craig because his props, due to the stage of this man's career, and the fact that we are getting streaking red L's right now, his prop by finish is plus 500. It used to be a damn thing to have that by a submission alone. Knockouts have always been kind of high because, again, he can't throw a fucking punch. But plus 500 for both. Now, the ground and pound has changed a lot since we've seen Paul Craig in a position where he's mounted up, he's raining down elbows. The 12-6 is there. And I think Paul Craig is good with his elbows. When he is on the ground, Paul Craig actually uses elbows. And I would love to see Paul Craig show the world how scary a 12-6 elbow could truthfully be when hit successfully. How do we do that? Well, we got to get the fight to the ground. Well, what's the issue with that? Bellato's much better on the feet, and he's like a high-ranked, multi-ranked black belt in jiu-jitsu as well. Never been submitted. And all of his losses have come to him being clipped. Due to this, you could say instead of the plus 500, sure, if I do believe in a fucking moonshot's chance that Paul Craig could turn this fight up and have his big knockout, good on you. I think the prop's like plus 12 or 1500. I'm going to just put something on that alone. To be totally frank and honest, much like Gilbert Burns and the disrespect on his line, I will put something on Paul Craig's. Just hit a knockout for me. But it's not going to make me any worse, mad, or upset if it doesn't hit, because it's been a streaking expectation at this point from this man just to go out and have a tough go. And I want to be proven wrong. But from a pick standpoint, in the contest that I'm in, first race to 100 picks correct, I couldn't put it out there. I support my man Bear Jew. You'll see it with the cards. I've been preaching this shit now, but I just couldn't put my neck out there and have the balls to pick them. And as much as I wish I could have everyone upset, have the parlays fail, Paul Craig wins, and then on my page it sits, it's circled Paul Craig wins, I'll swallow my pride and accept the fact that he's really got to prove something to me. Not even just in this fight, but the next one too. It's been a minute, and I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't go his way. He becomes 17-10, and that's all she wrote. I can't see Paul Craig going through this. I've seen him advertise some sleeves for his shoulder and knee braces and things. He's had his share of injuries. He's getting up there in age. The man's got a warrior spirit. I love the face-offs. I love it more when we get the face-offs with the Braveheart paint, and then he goes out there and kills somebody, and he's fucking lit and screaming at the crowd. He's a colossal-sized man, and he does much better at 205. I will give him that. But this is him making his debut again at 205, and for not good reasons. So distance, no. I don't even think that pays for shit. That's a given. Again, if you feel strongly about some other moves on this line, on this card, I've given you 3 or 4 of those now that you can just throw that shit together and rest assured that it will likely hit with whatever else that you feel strongly on your reads. So, all right, moving up to your main event, Gilbert Burns taking on Michael Morales. Truth is, I've always been a big fan of Burns, even when he was taking on Usman. The first and really only time I faded Burns early on was when he fought Hamzat. But I also respected that Hamzat wasn't going to just have his way with Burns, especially in the grappling exchanges, and that was going to shut down the submit game. And at this point in time, we had seen Mearshart get fucking slept with one punch, but Burns is tough, and he's got hammers too. And that fight kind of in a perfect way unfolded to being kind of what I wanted to see, what I had hoped. I did expect a late, like third, second round finish by Hamzat still, just being too much. But Burns proved to me that he was much tougher, and that was a very back and forth fight. Like, did Burns just beat Hamzat? Some people believe so. I thought it was very ever so slightly 2-1, but still, Burns, he suffered some injuries along the way. He's had some tough times out. JDM was damn near getting finished by him and was swinging with a broken arm. Survived the ground with Burns, which I found to be one of the most surprising things ever. Less surprising now because we just saw how he handled Belisle's takedown defense, takedown attempts. But I was just kind of fucking amazed. Like, dude, Burns has this insane pedigree with his jiu-jitsu, but how often are we seeing Burns go out there and stick to submissions? How often are we seeing him do that? You know what I mean? At this point, we respect Burns as a well-rounded fighter where he hurts his opponents. He's got good power. He's kind of one of those guys that, despite his pedigrees in jiu-jitsu, he fell in love with the power in his hands. And especially at welterweight, Burns was packing. He was putting people out. Probably got a few bonuses or two that said, hey, I'm going to keep fucking throwing like this. It's changing my life, changing my family's life. I think he's a little wiser. I think he's dialed back. He's had to accept a few losses, some tough losses to be at this stage in his career. He knows it's kind of at the end of the road as well, and in terms of what Father Time is presenting. And here he has an up-and-comer that he has a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge that, despite Morales is a phenom, genetic freak for his age. I mean, this kid's like in his low to mid 20s. I want to say he's like 25, 24, real quick. Where you at? 20 fucking 5 years old. Morales, if you can't accept that this guy is going to be a champion at some point in his career, then you're coping, bro. 25 years old, top elite fighter in the world. Does he lose his O? I think he does. And I don't know that Burns in his extremely competitive welterweight division is the person to give it to him. But I expect, much like Hamzat's war, much earlier on, I don't think Burns is going to go out. Dude looks super fucking dialed in, shredded. Hasn't been on any of the podcasts. Let's just say it what it is. Burns' life is a bit different now than what it was earlier in his career. He's got a lot of avenues. He's become much loved and respected, and he's gonna do well regardless of if he continues fighting much more or not. I dare say, but I think this is the time where he's honest with himself. He gives it all that he can, and if it's not enough, I can't say it's Burns would be done off this. No, but I think Burns would probably swallow the idea that I'm not going to get the strap. I'm not going to climb for the strap. And at this point, I want big names. I want legacy fights. And at the end of the day, I want to go out being loved and remembered for what I did. And so this fight, Burns has a lot to prove to himself. Morales, super fucking technical. He has good counter striking. Burns, he likes to throw with the power. I fear the lack of the speed and the combinations to set up those power shots. I could see Morales being on the back foot, circling off, avoiding a lot of these power shots. Burns is going to have to do something nice to set it up. I think the secret there is working in the leg kicks early on, shutting down some of that footwork movement, maybe catching like a nice kick to the body too, like a big liver kick or something. Of course, you could always have that big Moreno kick like he did on Kai Kara-France that ends a war prematurely, because France was going to just keep having a fucking tough time out with Moreno in that fight. I love that kick. I always think about that kick, how a perfectly placed kick to the midsection could just fold someone tough. And Morales is going to be tough. He's going to be game. I'm not going to say he's stronger than Burns also. I can't see that, especially at 25 years old. Like, he's got a lot of maturing to do. He hasn't quite reached that fighter prime yet. And that's what I respect in this guy's ability to get to that final dance. Right now, he's working on the elites before he gets to the end boss. My final pick is I'm going to take Morales. from a betting perspective, there's nothing to be had there. I already got a couple units put on Burns at plus 480. I saw it move up to like fucking 550 or 580. I wish so bad I could have hammered that line, but if it ends up hitting, that's just me being greedy at that point because it's going to take care of me plenty. So um, I'm rooting for Burns from man, I miss this guy winning. I want to see this guy do his thing. Morales being taught from an old vet. You know, I wouldn't really say the humbleness is being instilled because Morales actually does seem pretty to himself, humble. He's not trying to follow the terrible lead examples of people like Covington in the division of talking shit and not being able to back it up. Like he's pretty straightforward, man. Dude just likes to fight and he's very good at it. So I'm gonna trust the technicalities of Morales to get it done. I respect the toughness of Burns to see it not going within the distance. Morales probably gets it done by decision. But it's the year of the O, and it's been going quite well. So never count these underdogs out. We've been shutting down a ton of prospects this year. I certainly didn't expect Peyton to be one of those, and he got his ass beat. So yeah, I'm gonna catch up on chat at this point, and I'm gonna lock in this video now. Fire the restream. You guys can watch the rest of this in a separate video on the YouTube. But if you're watching this breakdown predictions, again, we talked about some bets. Throw a comment, like, give me some of your favorite bets, plays that I mentioned. Fade me. Talk about the fades that you have in place. But nonetheless, I appreciate the support. So I'm going to end this video now, fire up a second stream.